Hello everyone, it is Aussie Select back with a video just in the nick of time for discussion of the voice referendum. I apologize for my microphone quality. I just realized that I can't find my usual microphone that I usually use. It just went completely missing. It wasn't in the usual spot, so I'm using a very old webcam mic. It's still better than my desktop or my laptop microphone quality. I'll tell you that right now. But yes, this is the voice referendum. We've only got 4 days to go, and it is not looking good for the yes campaign. And honestly, it has not looked good for the yes campaign or the yes vote for quite some time. I'd say ever since Dutton came out and opposed it, the polls have been basically going down, down, down for the yes case. And we have here yes somewhere around the low 40s and no somewhere around the high 50s, which is where I believe most people are suspecting that the results will come around. The most recent poll is a Roy Morgan poll, which has been one of the better polls for the yes campaign. It has no at 53, yes at 47, actually unchanged from the most recent Roy Morgan poll, which was, but it had a lot less, had a lot more undecided back. That was last month. So yeah, that one has no only ahead 53-47. Most polls have no ahead 57, 61, 63, 56. So I think most people are thinking that yes is dead. And if we come down to, as you can see here, the polling used to be a lot better for the yes campaign, but polls have no ahead in New South Wales, in Victoria, in Queensland, Western Australia, South Australia, and yes is ahead in Tasmania. This has been pretty consistent, where surprisingly it's fared a little bit better in sometimes Victoria has yes here higher than in New South Wales, but sometimes Victoria is seen as Victoria, Tasmania are seen as the most sort of left wing states in the country, so you would expect that Victoria would have a higher yes than New South Wales. So yeah, the only state that's looking like it could pass is Tasmania. And those are usually off pretty small samples, so it could easily be the complete other way around. That's the only state where the Liberals are in power, funnily enough. But that state premier is supportive of the voice, I believe. My sort of best guess is that it will pass in Tasmania, and if the yes is extremely lucky, it will pass in maybe New South Wales and Victoria. But South Australia is going to be where it's going to be the sort of the key in the guts. I think a lot of people have suggested that South Australia is going to be sort of like the decider, basically. From a long time ago, that's what people were saying, and yeah, it's. I don't think it's going to pass in South Australia, and I think that's going to mean it's probably dead in the water. A lot of people have been suggesting that it's not going to pass in Queensland and WA. From when was the last time yes was ahead in Queensland? Let's see, back in April. So yeah, and of course, as everyone, as you may or may not know, 4 states are required to pass the referendum, and then also it has to get 50% nationally. We've got some interesting results per party affiliation. That's pretty bad, where even like Labour Party people, it's kind of like it's not like that far ahead. One Nation 94% no. What a surprise! What a surprise! So I guess I'll just talk. Oh wow! This one actually only has yes ahead 60% amongst Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander. I assume that it's a bit sort of hard to poll Indigenous people though. So yeah. But yeah, I mean that is surprising though that it's only ahead 60% amongst Indigenous people. So I guess I'll just talk about how we got here, and what this kind of means for the future of referendums in Australia. I think it was not a particularly great time for Albanese to launch this referendum. We're kind of in the middle of a cost of living crisis, a housing crisis. You know, we've got the war in Ukraine and now Israel. I don't know how that's going to go. But it's not the greatest time, I don't think, to put on a policy where, you know, people sort of have to sort of hold hands, stand together, and be positive about something. I think that was one huge issue. And you know, people aren't just at the moment. People aren't in a sort of a optimistic mood. I don't think people are not feeling, you know, good about, you know, things. So I just think that you know, maybe I'm just projecting here. But when it comes to the housing crisis, you know, that's it's terrible, absolutely terrible. Nothing, and the Labor Party aren't doing anything about it. But yeah, it's just not the greatest time to be pushing forward this kind of referendum. And the Yes campaign has been generally a bit of a mess. I think most people have said this. It wasn't incredibly clear, the messaging and what the voice was from the start and what it wasn't from the start. There needed to be a lot more clarity, a lot more straightforwardness, and there hasn't been that, and that's made it so easy for, you know, lies, but basically just lies, straight up lies. You know, we're not going to call it disinformation; it's just straight up lies from the No campaign to push forward and just completely just overtake the narrative, the media narrative around this whole voice thing. So yeah, terrible time to do this. The No campaign have been brilliant at just spouting off just absolute garbage nonsense. So good on them for really, you know, like making the most of this. This campaign was absolutely not in good faith by the no side at all. Absolutely not in good faith by the No side. But you know, if your job is to, you know, make a referendum fail, then I guess they've fulfilled their job. So they've done what they needed to do. So yeah, that's the voice. I don't think it's going to pass on this Saturday. I haven't thought that it was going to pass for quite a while, maybe like 6 months. And this kind of like the polling sort of it's been a long time coming where it's just gone way down. You could see this from ages that this was going to happen, where it was just going to completely just falling, like so many things, like the whole discussion of like, is there going to be a treaty? Is there, what does the executive government thing mean? You know, like I think the whole idea of the voice is like, it's basically affirmative action, and not too many Australians are keen on the idea of affirmative action, which is, if you don't know what I mean by affirmative action, it's basically giving more rights to, it's like equity, it's like giving more rights to someone who you believe is disadvantaged in order for them to sort of keep up with the rest of society. or giving more rights to like a disadvantaged group or a minority. In this case, they're the Indigenous people. And I believe there's already quite a fair bit of affirmative action towards Indigenous people in Australia right now, or at least that's what a lot of people believe. At least a lot of people believe that the Indigenous people of Australia are already getting a lot more than everyone else. And so why should they be given this as well? Why would they should be given an extra thing in the Constitution? I don't think it's risky. I don't think it's gonna, if it does pass, I don't think it's gonna be the end of the world or anything like that. But it will just be another thing that the Indigenous people will get and other people won't. So in this case, it's basically just they're them saying they want this, they want that, they want that. And it can be used for political reasons, of course. And anyone on the right will not be happy with it because it just will mean that there's an extra mouthpiece that will probably go against their ideology, and that's what they sort of mean by divisive. They mean it's going to give more rights to one group of people over the other. Which I believe that the Indigenous people already get, and I think that there's also sort of a fear that if this does pass, that the Albanese government is going to sort of use the whole Uluru Statement of the Heart, which is just one page. Another issue was that some people were saying that it was more than one page on the Yes campaign, and that was obviously terrible because it just created fear and confusion within people. But yeah, a lot of people will think that that the whatever happens next, the treaty and the truth, that's going to take up more time, and that's going to distract from other issues, and then the Albanese government is going to use that to not tackle real issues and stuff like that. And I honestly think that's like a pretty fair argument, and that's something I'd be worried about too, because I believe that this voice has been used as a bit of a distraction by the Albanese campaign to Albanese government, to distract from the fact that they haven't tackled other issues such as the housing crisis, for example. So I will be voting yes this Saturday, but I absolutely think that the Yes campaign has really made a lot of mistakes. And I think that the No campaign is full of complete bullshitters. But they've been successful because the Yes campaign has been pretty unsuccessful at tackling that bullshit. I briefly want to talk about the idea of a republic referendum, so getting rid of the monarchy. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon after this failure. I think Albanese is going to be he's going to have too much PTSD after this voice referendum to want to go back and go forward with another referendum anytime soon. So I just don't think this is happening in the next 5 or 10 years. And I feel like the same thing would happen if there was a republic referendum. It's a much bigger deal than the voice. I think that if there isn't unless it's very, very clear how it's going to work, there's going to be a lot of fear, there's going to be a lot of misinformation, there's going to be a lot of bullshit. Australia really doesn't like letting go of the status quo, and at the polls at the moment, it's not even that strong for a republic. So I feel like the polls are just going to fall in a similar manner to how the voice would fall if there was going to be a referendum on this matter. So yeah, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I think if it does happen, it will fail, and I don't think that Albanese is really the best person to be in charge of this kind of thing, because I just don't think he's very. I don't think he's the best strategist, and I don't think he's the clearest. So yeah, there won't be a republic anytime soon, I don't think. While we're here, we might as well talk about the New Zealand election coming up this Saturday. A bit of a departure from this channel. This is Aussies Elect, not Kiwis Elect. But I thought I'd talk about it because it's actually happening on the same day. The results will be out a couple of hours later due to time zones than the voice referendum. But yeah, it's pretty interesting at the moment. So it looks like that the Nationals and ACT, which are basically the sort of the right wing parties, will fail to be able to get a majority of seats. Although New Zealand First, who they will probably have to be in a coalition with if they want to get in government, are sort of close to the threshold of not getting any seats in Parliament. You have to get at least 5%, but they have been pretty high up in the polls recently. So this recent poll up here, Guardian Essential had them on 8.2. These very recent polls had them on 6.8. So I think they'll probably get up, and as you can, we'll go down here to the forecast, which is basically the meat of everything. The last polls that we've seen, like all of the polls basically, are pointing to National, ACT, New Zealand First will be the government basically, unless somehow National and ACT pull a rabbit out of a hat. The most recent poll, 47-11, so it has them on 58 seats together, NAT and ACT without NZ First. That's 58 seats. So that's actually 3 off a majority. So it's not too far off a majority. But yeah, it doesn't look like there's any way that Labour and the Greens will be able to form government, because they've already said they're not doing a coalition with New Zealand First. The only other sort of party of note is the Opportunities Party, which is like this sort of centrist, like technocratic, like I guess sort of like neoliberalism on steroids party. I don't know how you would describe it. Or on like 2.3%. That's like under the threshold needed, and they're trying to get into Parliament by winning this seat here, which is EM. And they only got like 14% on it on the most recent poll, so I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, that's it's going to be a right wing coalition. I just briefly took a look at sort of the issues of the election. I was going to watch the debate, but I got kind of bored when I was like, I don't know, half an hour in. But it's the same kind of things like cost of living. They don't really think that Labour have done enough. National want to sort of cut taxes for the middle class. Same sort of stuff that happens with any right wing. It's pretty standard right wing versus left wing stuff. Really, there wasn't anything really that interesting. Like, all of them hate, all the right wing parties, including New Zealand First, hate job seekers. They want to like cap job seekers or make it harder for them. Or of course, if there's at the end of the day, like the scapegoat is always going to be job seekers. So, and again, like Indigenous issues definitely playing a part this election. There's this whole thing of like co-governance, which the Labour Party have been sort of fond of, which is like teaming up with like Indigenous communities for governing the country and making policies and stuff like that. So sort of weird how that issue that is sort of similar to the voice issue. Maybe I'm just stretching too far, but definitely, cost of living, people believing Labour haven't done enough. So I will be watching this on Saturday, and I will obviously be watching The Voice. I will not be doing a live stream on Saturday. I may have done a live stream if Sormon was available, who is someone I've done collaborations with before, but he apparently has a wedding on. So I'm not going to do a live stream. I'm just going to be sitting at home, kind of watching my everything come about as it is. But yeah, it should be a fun night on Saturday. All this results stuff. Let's see. Oh, they got sort of equal preferred prime minister, both of them. National. It's really weird that they still poll like the old leaders in New Zealand. I don't know why they do that. Like they got like Ardern here at 4.5. Like she's not going to become prime minister again. Like why are they even polling her? I don't get it. I will also eventually be making a video about why I don't like this electoral system, which is MMP. But that's a story for another video. But it's got some good parts, it's got some bad parts, but yeah, generally I think that it's a bit lacking. But that's what you'll see why I think that in a later video. So thank you for watching, everybody, and I will hopefully be able to, or hopefully will be wanting to, make videos more often than I have in the past. I apologize for my lackadaisical nature when it comes to making videos. I mean, there isn't going to be that much election stuff happening in the next amount of time. I think there's a Queensland election coming up, which I'll probably make a video about in advance. And then, of course, that video about why I don't like MMP. I don't know what else. Leave a comment if you've got an idea for me. Thank you for watching, everybody. Goodbye.